Gordon Bennett Rally is something that friends of ours have done for years, I think from inception really, and it's a great reason to come and visit Ireland.
Come and to do something that means something, rather than just drive around the countryside.
Oh, it is important, very important. People don't realise it's a major event. It's the biggest event ever held in Ireland.
All these classic and vintage cars come together every year to celebrate the greatest motor race in Irish history. Not just Irish people, but drivers from all over, because the outcome of the Gordon Bennett race, held on the 2nd of July 1903, had a profound effect on motor racing worldwide. After many deaths of both drivers and spectators in France just weeks earlier in 1903, the world waited to see if the Irish race would suffer the same fate, and so bring an end to road racing everywhere. The day dawned with a chill in the air and thousands converging on the Laois, Carlow and Kildare roads by car, horse and train, to see these strange new contraptions as they would race around the local roads. Here is the story from those who were there to report or enjoy this momentous event.
At 4:45 a.m. on Thursday, the official special train steamed into the station of Monasterevin, and soon the quiet of the town was disturbed by a large throng of officials, pilot cyclists and control stewards.
The steam tram company had advertised a special tram, leaving Terranure shortly after midnight. There was a van in the back in which we stole our bicycles, for there was still a 6-mile run to the course at the other end. We arrived at Pudafuga shortly after 5 a.m. and this gave us just enough time to reach the car before the roads were closed to traffic.
Big crowds all out on the roads. They were all out around up in street and over here. So the road is all clear. See, to let these people out. There was no car on the road to stop them. They had to get the road clear.
Manchester Guardian race reporter. A new class of visitor has made his appearance. The spectator, pure and simple. He and she, for there are many ladies amongst them, have not, for the most part, brought over motor cars of their own. They know of others who have, and seats on cars going out to the scene of the contest are difficult to get today.
Well, I remember this was a glorious day, and as we went down somewhere near Kildare, I think, and I went and my father and I think there were other people. We just went and sat, as anyone would, on the glass verge, you know.
Arrived at the enclosure over 2 hours before starting time. We found we had been preceded by many spectators. Officials were busy adjusting final arrangements. Companies of police were marching to their stations. Strange-looking mechanics were arriving, and the cars bearing the words "official" were dashing all over the course.
Castledermot, being the first control station, naturally was an interesting point. From an early hour on Wednesday, the town was astir with visitors on motor cars, bicycles and every kind of vehicle. The control area stretched from the Carlow Gate, just at the beginning of the village, to Doyle's Hotel at the bridge over the Loire. No stands had been erected or enclosures set apart for accommodation of the spectators, but the fields along the course for a couple of miles were lined with spectators.
Before long, the stewards took up their positions. The racers began to arrive and quickly ranged in the order of starting. Mechanics putting final touches to their machines, while champions chatted gaily with their friends and each other.
I think the vast majority of people really didn't understand what was going to happen. It's believed that up to 250,000 people saw the race around the entire circuit, and it must have been a revelation for them.
About 7 a.m, the inspection car came round and was followed at intervals of about 20 minutes by 2 pilot cars, the second of which dashed through at a terrific pace.
SF Edge took up his position in his Napier and was accorded the warmest possible reception by the crowd, which was increasing in number every minute.
2 minutes,
said the imperturbable sapper officer.
20 seconds, 10 seconds, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
A cheer rent the air. The stand occupiers shouted encouragement, the clutch took hold of the racing engine and the car leapt forward, and as it took to the dusty road beyond was shut out by a white wall of its own rising, and the first hope of England was gone.
I clung to my seat, goggle-eyed, almost oblivious to the bottle of lemonade which Dad had thoughtfully provided. Then the roar,
"Here's the first!"
followed by,
"It's Edge!"
I saw two strange creatures humped over a strange mechanical monster. They, the humans, seemed to be leather-clad with big goggles and almost covered in clouds of dust. They passed at a terrifying pace of about 60 miles an hour.
As racing was prohibited through towns, control points were established at the cricket field, on the Dublin Road and at Braganza on the Athy side.
The controls were situated at Athy, Carlow, Castledermot, Kildare, Kilcullen, Monasterevin and Stradbally. Each had a staff of 26, consisting of a head marshal, green badge, 3 control stewards as personal assistants, green stripes, a starter to send off the cars, white badge, 3 timekeepers, red badges, 2 registrars to record the laps, blue badges, and 15 fearless cyclists to guide the competitors through the zones to the exit control, green armband. Volunteer motorcyclists would carry dispatches and transfer all important time vouchers from Kilcullen to the timekeepers' headquarters at Ballyshannon.
Away in the distance, a little puff of what looked like steam could be discerned, and the word rapidly passed from point to point, and the excitement was intense as the dust clouds turned into a minute black speck, which generally developed in size and clearness as the racing cars flew into sight. The scene, when Edge first flashed past at 70 miles an hour, beggars description. Just under the moat was one of the worst corners on the course. A sharp right-handed turn, followed immediately by a sharper left-handed turn, kept the spectators in a fever of excitement as the great cars swung around those dangerous spots in what appeared to be a reckless style.
You hear the car going like that, and the lads, you only see his head, 4 wheels, there was nothing else in it. Oh, sure, they were all leopard, didn't know to look at.
My granduncle was there. He was about 85 at the time, and he had been at the race, and he was saying that the only thing you could just see a cloud of dust when the cars were coming. Like, I mean, and then they were gone past them so fast. But they thought it was very exciting. Like, I mean, they saw very few cars before that. In fact, there was very few cars in Ireland before the race. Like, but no, it was big excitement, the whole race.
I remember the cars passing the door at intervals, you know, now and again, and all the names being shouted when they have to pass. The only name I can ever remember is Jeanette. Go on, Jeanette. You know, you hear that with all the cars, but I always could remember that one.
3 of the circuits of the race had come through Carlow town, with the first arrival swinging past about 7 a.m. and the last stragglers making it past around 4, by which time there were only 5 cars still left on the lead lap. For people in Carlow, the sensation of the day was the crash at Gurteen Cross at the end of the Castledermot Straight. JW stocks, apparently unable to take the bend, tangled with the wire which guarded every crossroads, smashed a wheel and turned over.
Jarrett, when doing a second circuit, met with a serious casualty at Stradbally. When turning a sharp corner, his car struck into a bank, rolled over and got smashed. His mechanician was caught under the car. Jarrett pulled him out and then the young fellow fainted. A special motor car with a doctor was sent out.
At 10:56, Decaturs flashed in, but pulled up to say Jarrett's car had been smashed to splinters at Stradbally Corner. But Jarrett was unhurt. The news was received with regret.
When you think of it, that they averaged 50 miles an hour with no brakes on the front, and so, you know,
I was watching the race at Athy and recall SF Edge driving a 50 horsepower Napier when passing shed one of its tyres. A man on the opposite side of the road ran out, picked it up and dropped it like a hot brick. It was in fact a light.
A fella called Janazzi, that fella won it. And he was going with his head down and he was going like, he was very determined to win his race. Janazzi, you could see that Janazzi was winning from the start.
In the final stages, there was no doubting Janazzi must win, and win he did. Janazzi's average speed for the 350 miles was 55 miles an hour.
Just 2 days after arriving in Ireland, our Belgian driver, Camille Janazzi, won the 1903 Gordon Bennett race on a Mercedes. And that was Daimler's breakthrough in the international motorsport scene.
And so after 10 hours of occasional cars passing at great speed, of dust, rain, sun, sandwiches and laughter, the most important race in motoring history at that time came to an end.
Now it is a thing of the past, and we are extremely glad to be able to record that it has been carried through entirely without accident. It was proved that a motor race on a properly guarded road was perfectly safe so far as the general public was concerned. As to the behaviour of the people, we cannot speak too highly.
People will be talking to you and they're, I remember that, and I remember my father, and this is what happened and this what didn't happen, and there's a huge amount of stories about the Gordon Bennett and what people did and didn't do and shouldn't have done and whatever, so.
It really is terribly important. It's perhaps the key event in the history of motorsport, leading to what we have today. It's the direct ancestor of all the racing we have today, which is why I've always called it the race that saved motorsport.
All that is left now are the occasional road signs and a dedicated collection of enthusiastic vintage and classic car drivers that come every year to celebrate this momentous race and to help keep alive a moment when Ireland and the counties of Carlow, Laois and Kildare had a major impact on world motor racing history.
I remember talking to a guy up from North Kildare, and something came up about the race and Janazzi's name. And he said, I often wondered what that name meant. He said there's a saying up our way, he was going like Janazzi, but I never knew where it came from.
In the late evening, I rode homewards on an almost deserted road, and somewhere along the straight stretch I heard a whine of a fast car approaching. I stopped to see it pass. It was a low-built racing two-seater that had not been in the race. In it was a young driver with his arm around a very pretty girl. I was then studying to be an electrical engineer, and on the instant I said, "The motor cars for me." I started on motor garage the next year. Don't regret it.